Hi everyone, thanks for joining the webinar today. And I am Komal and I would be giving this session. So the session is detecting and highlighting entities from unstructured text using machine learning. And for this particular session, we would also be focusing on how we can detect and highlight the entities which are contained in resumes. So the agenda for the session would be that I would be giving a brief overview of what this machine learning service is all about. And then we would have a short demo, and then we would also have some hands-on exercises. Hope I'm audible to everyone and my screen is visible, and you can let me know in the chat. Um, and as a part of this session, if there are any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and I would ask the moderator to unmute you so that you can ask your questions, or if there are any queries during the hands-on session. If there are any questions that you would like to ask, as I mentioned, either raise your hand or you can also type it in the Q&A box here. And if there are any feedback that has to be given, you can please feel free to type it in the chat window. So with that, I will get started with the agenda for the presentation. So the agenda is I would first go through what is business entity recognition, which is the machine learning service that we are going to be talking about and performing hands-on with. Then I would also explain some of the use cases and applications of business entity recognition where we are already using this service and what are the potential use cases of this particular service, especially for the field of HR. Then we would also have technical overview, including the architecture, API, and the machine learning process of business entity recognition, and then a short demo showing business entity recognition in action. So coming to what is business entity recognition. So as I mentioned on as the session states, business entity recognition is a service that is used to detect and highlight any given type of named entity in unstructured text. So unstructured text can be anything ranging from emails or chats or simple statements that we receive via tickets that those qualify as unstructured text. So the purpose of this service is that if we have unstructured text and we want to extract some meaningful information out of that unstructured text, we can easily do that without going to manually read through the text, including emails and chats, and then we can automate these processes. So many a times we have certain scenarios where we either get emails or we get inquiries via chats, and then the service agents have to manually go through the entire text or entire context and then extract meaningful information from it to further process the inquiry. So the aim is to mitigate this manual effort here and instead automate the extraction of entities from the unstructured text. So business entity recognition currently has two primary features. It comes with pre-trained models, which makes it productive immediately, and they can be used off the shelf. So any customer can leverage these pre-trained models directly to increase automation in the various processes and increase efficiency. Currently, with this service, we have two pre-trained models that are delivered whenever a customer onboards to this service, and there are also plans to introduce more pre-trained models in the future. Then there is also a feature to create custom models, which would extract the information or entities that is desired based on historical data, which the user would provide. So if a customer thinks that the pre-trained models are not sufficient for their requirements or for their scenarios, then what they can do is that they can provide historical data for their use cases to this service. They can train their own model, and then they can use the service to extract the entities that is based on their requirements. So with these two features, this service gives the customer the flexibility to use either the pre-trained models or the custom models. Now, coming to certain use cases of business entity recognition, and to give a background of why this service came into action, is that what we researched, or what we found, was that an average office worker receives around 121 emails daily and sends about 40 emails daily. Also, employees spend an average of 20 minutes on completing one single expense report, which are related to travel and other expenses, including internet reimbursement and so on. And then they spend some other significant time to correct those expense reports. For both of these scenarios, the common thing is that any human being spends a huge amount of time in these mundane tasks. So looking through, say, all the emails received per day, and then having to filter out really important emails from, say, from some other less important emails like newsletters or promotions, and then deciding on which email to answer first, and then ultimately answering to it, is a time consuming task for employees. Also, similarly, for filing expense reports, it's a time consuming process. So these are just two examples of what we face in our daily lives, and there are plenty of other examples where we have to deal with a lot of data. We have to process a lot of data, extract the information from it, and then only we can take some actions. So that is where this service helps in automating some of the mundane tasks or repetitive tasks here. So this is a very simple example of a customer service agent. Maybe if we can consider an e-commerce type of scenario, where there's a customer service agent who receives emails daily regarding order inquiry, or the status of the order, saying, so in this example here, that there was an order placed on this date, and then they have still not received it, and can you tell me when would I receive it, or what is the status of my order? So what the customer service agent would typically do is that he would read through the entire email. He would have to, first determine, okay, what is the nature of the query. So in this case, it is inquiry of the order, or inquiry of order status. And then he would have to retrieve all the important information, like the date when the order was placed, then the customer number, order number, and so on. So for now, this email looks very simple, and we can easily perceive information from here. But imagine this situation when we have a lot of emails coming in every minute, several emails every minute or every hour, and then there might be some confusing languages or confusing words here. So in this case, business entity recognition comes to rescue. So what would happen here is, once the customer service agent receives the email, business entity recognition would directly extract certain information. So for example, if you see here, in the right side, business entity recognition extracts customer number, order number, and date. And then this whole process can be automated. We can feed in this information to a bot or to an RPA process, and then we can directly create tickets out of this. And this results in reduction of the repetitive tasks that the customer service agents would have to do, or they would it would also result in high quality service for the end users. So similar to what we saw for emails, this is what we can do for you know for an HR scenario, wherein as HRs, we one of the most important process is recruitment, and we have to shortlist candidates based on their resumes. So I'm sure you would receive a lot of resumes for the candidates for any one job position, and then there are several job positions that are active at any given moment. So the typical process is that you would go through the resumes, you would extract the information, or you would perceive the information about the candidate from the resume, make some notes, and then shortlist them based on the job application and so on. So here, what we can do is, with the combination of business OCR and business entity recognition, We can process the resume for a candidate. We can extract all the required entities here, and then we can directly either shortlist or reject the candidate. We can review the candidate details, and then we can directly send it to the concerned a concerned department for interview scheduling and so on. So this is how we can use business entity recognition in combination of other business services, or we can use it also stand alone by copy pasting, say say the content of the PDF, or if we are using it in combination of business OCR, then we can then the PDF or the Word document can be first scanned and then processed through BER, and then we can use this for automating this whole process. Then I would now also quickly go through some of the technical details of the BER service. So this is the typical architecture for business entity recognition. What is at the core of AI Business Service, which is the business entity recognition, is a set of REST APIs that allows all the operations to be performed. So which includes the training operation and the inference, which is the prediction or the extraction of entities. So for all these operations, we have a set of REST APIs that can be integrated with any SAP application or non-SAP application, because it is a standard HTTP REST API. And all these HTTP REST API are authorized using the OAuth service. So hence it is very secure and very safe, because we have the proper authentication and authorization mechanism in place here. So as I mentioned, BER comes with a set of APIs to perform all these operations. So first is to create the data set and upload the document. So this is required for creating a custom trained model. For that, the first step would be to create data set and upload the documents. Then based on this data set that is getting created, we trigger the training to get a custom model. This custom model is then deployed so that it can be used for inference or prediction, and then we can perform inference with the deployed model to extract entities. So these are some of the APIs that you see on your screen. So these are the APIs which are related to training. These would be the APIs that you would also get to try in the hands-on session, which would be after this presentation. And the API, and these are the APIs for inference. So inference is an asynchronous process. So we have two APIs. One is to trigger the inference job, and then the second one would be to get the results of the inference job. So in summary, this is the typical flow of how the business entity recognition service works. So if you're using the pre-trained models, there is no need to upload data or train the model. But if you are using if you want to create a custom model to extract your own entities, then you have to first upload the data with annotations. Again, the details for which we would cover in the hands-on session. Then based on that data set, we would train the model. So the model training takes place in BER. The model training takes around 5 hours to complete, at the end of which you would get a new model. And then you would also get the feedback on the model performance as to how accurate it is and what kind of entities it is able to extract. Then the third step would be to deploy the model. So the deployment process is nothing but telling the BER or the business entity recognition application that I'm ready to use this model, and then I should be able to perform prediction with it. And you can also deactivate this model whenever you think that this model is not required. And then the last step is the prediction, which is the most important step and the primary step that you can use the created model, either the pre-trained model or the trained model, to get the results and the confidence scores. So this slide talks briefly about the data management that we have in business entity recognition. So one of the most important questions regarding any machine learning application is how secure my data is. because obviously we have to upload data for either training or inference, and then that data might contain some sensitive information or might contain some information that the end users are very protective about. So for business entity recognition, regarding the training data, we store it in the menu object storage, which is an S3 based storage, and the data is isolated for each tenant. So any customer's data would be fully protected and would be fully under their umbrella, and it cannot be accessed by any other customer. And then, as I mentioned, and as I showed, that there are APIs to upload the data, to delete the data. So if you think that you have already used the data to train the model and then it is no longer required, the data can be deleted. For the inference data, as I mentioned, we have the inference as an asynchronous API. So the texts that are provided for inference are temporarily stored in the database, which is the Postgres database in the backend. But this is a temporary storage in the sense that there's a scheduled job that runs every 24 hours, and it deletes the texts which are older than 12 hours. So there would be no inference text which would be stored in the system for more than 24 hours. So overall, this is how we manage the data in the BR service, and mostly we have given the control of the data to the user itself, so that if they are not comfortable or if they think that the data has been used and has served its purpose, they can be directly deleted from the system. This slide talks about a brief overview of what goes on in the background in terms of the machine learning process. So the machine learning process is primarily divided into three steps. First is the data pre-processing step. In this step, what happens is that we validate the training data format, that whether the training data that has been uploaded is valid and is can be used for training or not. So we generally validate the schema or the JSON schema of the data that has been uploaded, and we also check some conditions that I can also talk in detail in the hands-on exercise. But there should be a minimum of 50 examples for each label to be considered for training, and there should be at least one meaningful label for the training to proceed. So this is what happens in the pre-processing step. Then we also split the data into train and test data set. So what we do is that we do not use the test data for any kind of training experiment, and we use only the training data to train the model, and then we test it on the data that we keep aside for testing, and that is how we would get the accuracy of the model. So generally this ratio of training to test data is 8:2. Then regarding training, our service is supported by an in-house developed flexible framework for sequence labeling tasks. It implements different deep learning and NLP techniques for training. So in deep learning, we use artificial neural networks, a combination of both convolutional and recurrent neural networks. And then we also use the DAE model, which is the denoising autoencoder model, and word embeddings as part of the transfer learning capabilities. So these are all developed in-house, and we have used several types of machine learning techniques in combination to train as a process of training the model, training the BR model here. Then the third step in the machine learning process is post-processing. So once the training is complete, we would have multiple models generated. Now we use the test set that we set aside in the pre-processing stage to calculate the F1 scores for all these models. And the model with the highest F1 score is chosen as the best model and is uploaded to MLF's model repo, from where we can use it for inference. Now I would move on to demo, but I would just see the question answers. So one question is, what is the real case how AI will screen CV in SAP SuccessFactors? So this I would just show a small demo for that, and we do not have any integration with success factors yet, but as I mentioned, these are all REST APIs which can be integrated. I will show a small demo where we have where we are using this to screen the resumes and extract entities from it, and then we can also check how we can integrate it in success factors using the REST APIs. So we do not have any completed integration scenario as of now, but that is something that we can maybe discuss, and we can use the AI business services to integrate it with the success factors also. And regarding is the replay would be shared later, so I'm not sure. We are recording this meeting, and I would check with the coordinators and the organizers if we can share the demo. So I would now show a demo for. So as I mentioned, this is the demo showing resume scanning using the BER. So what I have done here is I have uploaded a resume. I will upload it first, and then it would be processed first by the business OCR service to get the OCR result. Okay. Maybe it takes some time, or I'll just refresh it once. So I browse to the resume and I upload it. So if you see here, I had the resume. I can maybe share it with you guys later. So that was a PDF document. It has been processed through the OCR, and we have this information that has been extracted as plain text. Now this would be submitted to BER. And we see that this is the BER result. So if you see these entities, this is something that we configured while training the model. So these were the annotations that we had in our data set. And since these were the annotations during training, it would extract only these results during inference. So if you want to say extract certain other information, for example, say years of experience or something like that, then we can annotate it during training, and then it would be able to extract those information also. And if you see here, these are the values, and we also have the confidence. So confidence would be that we have that how confident is the model in the values that were being predicted. So if you see here, for most of the values, the model is more than 90% confident. In some cases it is 100% confident that for example, for zip code, it is 100% confident that it is this value is the zip code. So you can confidently use this information without having to again go through the resume and verify that, okay, is this the zip code or not, and so on. So this is the BER result. And then what we have done here is that we have automatically then created a form that lists the candidate information. So we have first name, last name, country, email, mobile, and all that. So again, as I mentioned, this is just a POC, so we do not have other fields here which we usually look while shortlisting a candidate, say the years of experience or skills and so on. But that can be easily done. So for example, here if you see that it's written 4+ years of experience, so you can annotate this as total years of experience, and then you would be if you give that to if you if you give that information while training the model, you would also get that label here, and you can get the value. So we have the candidate information, and then you can we can integrate it with success factors like this. Say the candidate ID was this, and if the status is not applied, we can either shortlist the candidate or we can delete the candidate, reject the candidate, and so on. So this is a simple example of how BER can help in integration with or in processing of resumes, and then helping in shortlisting or rejecting a candidate. So I have a question again. How if the CV upload is in different format for every candidate? Yes, we can support different formats. So instead of PDF, you can also sorry, I don't have the example right now, but we can also extend this to support any kind of format. So for example, we can directly upload a Word document, or we can upload a simple TXT file and so on. So that can also be extended here. So this is not a limitation here, because ultimately we should get ultimately BOCR is able to even extract results from the images. So once we get the plain text out of the documents, BER would always process on unstructured text, and BOCR can process any kind of file types. Okay. Okay. Auto spelling corrections can also be included while upload. I'm not sure if I get the question correctly. But during this upload, no, I don't think we can include the auto spelling corrections. But maybe if you can raise your hand and ask the question directly, that would be better, because I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. Okay, not the file type, the document format. Yeah, so that is what. So while training, it would be better that what we do is that while training, we encourage that we get different types of formats or the content for these resumes, and then we train it according to that. So more the diverse the content, better the predictions would work on different types of formats, right? For example, you're right. If I just have this kind of format, and every resume is in this format, then it would be then it is highly probable that for any other type of format, though I would get the predictions, but they would not be that accurate. So what we encourage during training is that you get different types of formats. Like I would have a different style of writing the resume, and someone else would have a different style of writing resume. We get those different styles, and then we train the model accordingly, so that while inference we get accurate results. Having said that, as I mentioned, it would still work on all these resumes, but you would not get maybe that much accuracy for the results that have been extracted. Yeah, so okay, I get your point. So for example, here if Gmail is wrongly spelled, no, this is not in the scope of this particular integration scenario, or not in the scope of these AI business services. So if there are any so what happens is, say for example, if this was wrongly spelled and I annotate this as an email during training, and say for example I had 10 to 20 cases where this was wrongly spelled and I have annotated as an email, then it is quite possible that it would recognize Gmail as the email address. It would recognize this as the pattern, and it would say that, okay, if I see this, if the model sees this, it would say that this is email. So yeah, this is something that is out of scope for this service. It would, again, as I said, it would purely depend on the kind of training data that we are providing to the model. If the accuracy is low, do you mean we have to change the model, or we have to training the bot? So if the accuracy is low, so what happens is, or what our customers do is that they keep certain threshold here on the confidence, saying that if the confidence is greater than 90%, I would assume that I would take the information as it is, right? And say for example, for most of these cases, the accuracy is more than 90%, so I would take this information as it is. But if it is less than 90%, then I would verify it. And then if I think that the model was not right in predicting this, then you can correct it, and then you can retrain the model. So that is what you would have to do. You would have to retrain the model. If the accuracy, if you see, so again, this is a machine learning process, and this is again, it would take time. So as you all know, that more the data that we feed to the model, it would give better results. So if you say have trained it on 100 samples, and then when you are doing inference on 50 samples, a couple of samples are wrong, then that kind of an error rate is what you would have to we would have to live with. But if the error rate is increasing constantly or is very high, then the suggestion would be to check your annotations again, to check your training data again, and retrain the model. So the more data that we give to the model for training, the better its performance would be. Okay, hi, is the BER same as document information extraction service? No, it's not the same. The primary difference is that in information extraction service, the first thing is that it only deals with documents like invoices and payment advices, right? So there are some predefined documents there that can be processed by the doc service. Whereas in BR primarily deals with unstructured text, but that is the maybe a powerful feature of BR, that any document that you have, say for example PDF or Word document, you can copy it and you give it to BR, so that also becomes unstructured text. So there are, say, 2 to 3 differences. So the first is that BR deals in unstructured text, but it can be combined with BOCR or docs to first get the information from the documents and then process it. And the second thing is that for docs, it is primarily some fixed type of documents that it processes, like payment advices and invoices, whereas in BR there is no such restriction. You can give it any type of document, or you can create any kind of use it for any type of scenario that you want, and you can define your own entities that you want to extract. So as I mentioned, for example, here in this example, right now I thought that I need these kind of entities to be extracted, but tomorrow if you say that no, I want also a current company or years of experience or skills, then you can annotate it here, saying software engineer in SAP Labs India, so this can become a company name, and then you can get that result also here. So it's not same. Underlying machine learning processes are more or less similar, but the purpose of the services is different. Okay. So I would wait for any other questions that you might have. You can also raise your hand and I can ask the moderator to unmute you. Okay. If there are no other questions, then I have. Okay. Could you please show how to navigate the service from the cloud portal? Sure. So that is also included in the hands-on material. So that is from the trial account, but you can follow same steps in your product BTP productive account. So we can go through the hands-on material first, and then if we still have these questions, I can also show it how to navigate it from there. So I have just sent a file in the chat, which contains the hands-on material. I am also sharing the file here so that I can also tell you how to do this. So the first section that we can get started with is to getting onboarded with BR. So for this, you would have to set up your trial account, create the BR service instance, and get the OAuth access token. So if you already have the trial account, or if you attended any other session for any other business service or so on, you can directly skip to step 1.2, and you can continue with the steps here. I can also do it parallelly, but I already have my trial account set, but I can just do it in parallel, and I can also let you know what would be the key points to remember for certain steps. And if, as I mentioned, if there are any questions, please feel free to write it in Q&A, or you can raise your hand and let me know. Okay, we have some more questions. So there is one question. Normally in success factors, candidate will upload CV to the system. Can we use this bot to read and do screening from file in success factors? Yes, that should be possible, because I'm sure success factors has a set of APIs from where we can get the information, and then we can also create a kind of of a bot, or we can use IRPA to create a kind of integration scenario wherein it takes the resumes from the success factors system, processes it through BR, and then gives the input back to success factors. So I'm sure that is possible, and I think what the purpose of this webinar is that I show you the service, and we can collaborate together in coming up with such an integration scenario. Let's say the candidate must have more than 5 years experience. Other than this, candidate must be disqualified. Yeah, so again, this is something, so for the scope of BR, what we can extract is, we can say, as here, we can have another label saying years of experience, and we can have 5. Then we can have a process, maybe with IRPA, or a bot, or any, a simple script, where we can just check that whether the years of experience is less than 5 or greater than 5. If it is less than 5, then we just say that we do not go ahead with the candidate, and we send uh, a message to the success factors that we are rejecting this candidate. So that should also be possible. Again, these are all the kind of integration scenarios that we can put in place with simple scripts, or with simple scripts, or any IRPA workflows. If you click on the document here, you should be able to open. I just have pasted it. I've just uploaded it in the chat. Hope everyone is able to access this. I can resend this. Okay, I have resent it. Please let me know if you're able to access it. Moderator, can you help me here? I have uploaded the document, but the attendees are not able to see it. Okay, I have a workaround for this. Okay, you can click on the document and you can download it. Otherwise, what you can do is, this is the repository that we created for the TechEd session, and you can also go through this. So Okay, what I can do is I can again show, hope everyone is able to open the GitHub link. And here in the GitHub link, you have to first follow the prerequisites, which is to get the free trial account, create the service instance, and get the OAuth access token. And then we have to start the exercises here. So you can see the document that I sent would be available here. So you can download the document from here. I can just paste this link again. So what I have done is that I have resent the document. I have also pasted a GitHub link from where you can download the documents. If you're not able to see it in the chat, you can go to the GitHub link and you can download the document from there. Please let me know once you guys are able to access the document so we can proceed with the exercises. Okay, at least I get one feedback that we are able to access the document now. So what you can do is if you are accessing it from GitHub, I would recommend that you click on this download button and download it in your local, because that would be easy to navigate through all these links and so on. So it is better that you click on download and download the document. So you can start with setting up your trial account. And as I mentioned, if you already have the trial account, you can create the VR service instance here. For I think most of us, you would not have to register and you can directly use your SSO for creating the trial account. Just one important point here is that if you come to this screen, it would be recommended that you use Europe Frankfurt AWS here, and not select any other region, because right now we are available only in this region. We are working on making this service available in other regions as well, but right now it is available only in Europe Frankfurt. So if you are creating the account for the first time, please select Europe Frankfurt here. And at any point, if you have any questions or are stuck anywhere, you can please ask me and I can help you. So I can quickly show how my trial account looks like, and this is how it should look like for you. So once you have the trial account, which I think should be pretty quick for you all, because we are all SAP employees. So if you enter your trial account here, you would see this style, which is trial. If you click here, so this is your trial account. And when you have to create the service instance and subscription, what you can do is you first have to check your entitlements. Mostly you would already have the entitlements. If you do not have, then you can follow these steps to configure the entitlements. Otherwise, what you can, if you already have the entitlements, then you have to go to your space and then create the business entity recognition instance. So since I have already created, I have this instance and I have the key here. So this is where we have to arrive at the end of this exercise for creating the service instance. Please let me know once if anyone completes section 1.2 for creating the PR service instance. And again, if there are any questions or if you're stuck somewhere, please feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, then were you guys able to create the service instance for business entity recognition in your trial account? Please let me know. Were you able to complete the section 1.2? Okay. Okay, I see at least one yes. So I'm keeping. Okay, great. We'll be able to get the bearer token as well. So maybe just quickly for those who were not, in my case, dev space is not having enough memory. I guess then you might have to delete certain instances God of to create the BR service instance. So if you have a lot of instances, you might not have enough space to create the BR instance. So you can delete one instance. So 0 of 0 on B. Okay, that's strange. Ideally, you should have some space here. Gaurav, can you try creating another space from here? So if you go to your trial home and then to this trial window, trial tile, just try creating another space from here, and then maybe you can try to configure entitlements and then add it from there. You can just try that and let me know if it works. Meanwhile, for getting the bearer token, you have to follow this tutorial, and what you will have to do is that once you create the service instance, you would get a service key um, like this. So you will have this key, and I will just quickly explain the service key here so that we have to use this. So the first URL that you see here, this is your application URL. So all the APIs would be here. So if you just copy and you paste it here, what I would also recommend is that you copy this service key and keep it handy, because we would need this. You would need this later on as well if you want to try out some other actions on this service. So this is the application URL. It would be the same for everyone. So I have pasted it here. This is the health endpoint, which just shows that whether the service is up or not. So there is nothing that has to be done here. But if you just want to see whether the service is up or not, you will see that I am getting a response of okay. That means that I can use the BR service. And then coming to other URL, the URL that you see here, this is your authentication URL. This is how you would be able to authenticate and authorize your application so that you can use the APIs for further operations. So please remember that when you are creating the bearer token or using this tutorial, please use this URL, which is the second URL here, which would contain the name of your trial account. So I can copy this URL here, and then at the end I have to append this. So I will just paste it in the chat so that there's no confusion here. So you take the URL, so you take the URL from the service key, append /auth/token question mark grant underscore type equals to client underscore credentials. And then it would ask for client username and password. So just to show you, it would ask for username and password. So what you would have to give is that you have to give username as the client ID. You please make sure that you copy it without the inverted quotes, and then you have to also give password as this client secret. So make sure that you copy all these values correctly. Otherwise, it would generate the token, but it would not work. So please make sure that you are able to copy these properly. And once you get the bearer token, which would be in this format, hope everyone is able to see my screen. So once you enter the client ID, client secret, you would get something like this. What you have to do is you have to copy the value within the quotes for the label access underscore token. So I would copy this until here. So if you see the quotes are starting and ending, and I have to copy the value within this. So please make sure that you copy it correctly. Otherwise, if we do not get the required result, it would say that you are authenticated, but it will not work. So please copy this token and keep it in a notepad, or just keep it handy. And as a side note, this token would be valid for 12 hours. So whenever you access the application within 12 hours, you can use this token. And if it is after 12 hours, you would have to regenerate this token following the same steps. So once everyone has this bearer token, please let me know. And from there on, we can all start the exercises simultaneously. So maybe I'll just wait for 5 more minutes for everyone to get the access token. And then I would move on to the next section on how to authenticate and authorize. And anyone who has already completed, please feel free to proceed.
Hi. Hi, Komal. This is Prashant.
Hey, Prashant.
Komal, once I created this space, so it is showing zero MB memory, and it says zero started, zero stopped. So do I need to do anything there?
Okay, 1 second. I think even Gaurav pasted a similar query. So you created the space
Yeah, I
and
created.
then it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I added Cloud Foundry, and then I added the space.
Okay. So now when you are trying to create the service instance, you're not able to create it.
Yeah, I created the entitlement, so it
Okay.
didn't show the space. So what I did was I added the Cloud Foundry service. Once I added the
Mhm.
Cloud Foundry service, there was a space, there was a icon where it allowed me to add the space. So once I
Mhm.
added the space, what happened was it is showing 0 of 0. So is it exactly the same, or do we?
This one.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
showing
once. Okay.
yeah.
This is strange. Can you try creating another space and check if it is the same there? Because this should not happen, because by default you should get 4 GB of memory.
Okay, I'm trying
Uh,
to.
Um,
Hello, am I audible?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got the access token. Now, what to do after that?
Hmm. So you can okay, you can just proceed to 1.4. Okay, so maybe we'll just wait for 1 more minute for everyone to get the access token, and then we can proceed. I can just explain some minor details to you.
Okay.
So Prashant, meanwhile, you can just try creating the space and we can go forward, and then we can come back to you. Okay, so once you have the access token, you just copy it. And if you see here, what you have to do is you have to access this URL. So how I come to this URL is that, as I mentioned, this is your application URL. When you access this, it shows the health endpoint, but you have to append /API/v1 to get access to the APIs. Now, what I have to do here is you can click on the button authorize. You enter the word bearer here. I will again paste it in the chat, bearer, and then a space. right? So I enter bearer space, and then I enter my access token here. So I just copy paste it here, and then I click on authorize. So you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about client ID and client secret. You just have to type bearer with a capital B space and then the access token and click on authorize, and then just click on close. So this, now what this has done is it has authenticated and authorized you. It has recognized you as a genuine tenant of BER, and then now you can access all these APIs. To verify that your access token is correct, what you can do is you can go to models API, you can click on get, and then you can click on try it out and then execute. So what you would see here is you would get a server response of 200. So 200 is in HTTP or in REST standards is for successful, and you would get these models as the response. So this means that you have been successfully authenticated. So these all steps are documented in section 1.4. So you can go ahead and authorize yourself, and then we can continue with section 2 for training data set. So I will wait for 5 minutes here, and then we can I can explain quickly about what is data sets in BR. Okay, so I think we can move on. Hope everyone was able to authenticate and authorize. So I will just quickly explain about what is section 2 about. So as I mentioned in the presentation, for BR custom training, we have to upload some training data and training data to the system so that it can be used for training. So we have something called data sets and documents. So if you see here, we have data sets and documents here. So what is meant by data sets and documents? It is similar to what we have in our system as folder and files, right? So we create one data set, and each data set can have multiple documents. Right now for trial, we allow creation of only one data set, and in production, this limit is for 10 data sets. So the training always occurs for a particular data set. Hence, it is imperative that before any training, you would have to create a data set and post the document. So you can go ahead and create the data set and post the documents here, and then we would use these for training. So a quick walkthrough about how the training document looks like. So if you see section 2.2, that explains what the training document restrictions are, that it should be always in JSON format, and the maximum file size is 10 MB, and it cannot contain any malicious data. So each training document would be a collection of JSON structures. Each JSON structure in turns contains ID, which is nothing but an identifier, then text, and then labels. So for example, here in this example, which is in your document, in the hands-on document, you see that 48, 55, which indicates that the starting character, which is at 48 till the character 55 is invoice ID. So if you see here, the 48th character is A, capital A, B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 48 to 55 is invoice ID. So this is what we mean by annotation. So I would again paste two documents, upload two documents here in the chat, and then you can use that for uploading the documents to the data set. So these are a collection of resumes. So this is similar to what I showed in the demo. This is the same data that we used for the demo, and this is what I am sending it here. So I will also quickly share this document. So if you see towards my screen, you would see that I have ID as 1, and then I have text. So this text is nothing but some resumes that we have copy pasted to train the BR model. And if you see at the end, we have certain labels. So for example, character 0 to 4 is title, character 5 to 10 is first name, 11 to 15 is last name, email ID, mobile. So these are the annotations that we have provided. For doing these annotations, we have some external tools available like Docano and so on, which can be used to annotate the text. So if you use this training document while uploading it in the data set, the resulting model that you will get would be able to extract the information of candidates from their resumes. So you can go ahead and perform the instructions or perform the exercises mentioned in section 2, which is the BR training dataset, and then we can move to training. So I would wait for around 10 minutes here. And if you have any questions in the meanwhile, please feel free to ask me. And if you're stuck anywhere, please let me know. I will also perform these on my screen. So if you have if you are stuck anywhere, you can also refer to my screen. Hope everyone was able to now get the files for the data set, resume training data 1.json and resume training data 2.json. Again, if you're not able to get it from the chat, I would also give the link for GitHub. So I've also pasted the link to get the training data from GitHub if you're not able to get it from chat. So you can download the zip and extract the files from there and upload it one by one. Okay. Gaurav, for this, I'm not sure because I think since you had the default one as in the US region, it is possible behavior of the trial account that it allows space allocation only in one of the regions. So I think most probably that is the reason that you are not able to create the space in the Europe Frankfurt region. So yeah, I think this is what the trial account restrictions are. If you have a production account, then I think we are able to create multiple regions and then multiple spaces. But I guess this is the restriction in trial account. Um, Prashant, are you also facing similar issue because you had it in different region? Okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm not aware of what happens in the BTP trial account and what are the restrictions for the regions. But most likely, this is the restriction that we have. Okay, so were you guys able to create the data sets and upload the document? Any feedback? Okay, I see at least one yes. Okay, then in the interest of time, I would go to the next section. You guys, as I mentioned, you have all the resources available. Please feel free to continue at your own pace. But I think I'll just cover the important points during the duration of this session. So now the next step is to train the model. So we have already created the data sets and documents, and now we would be train the model. So as I mentioned, this model is same as I used in the demo, and you would get the similar model. However, you would not be able to test it right now because the BR training typically takes around 5 hours to complete. This is again because of the sophisticated machine learning process that we have, pipeline that we have in the backend, because it uses artificial neural networks and it performs multiple experiments for multiple models. That is why it takes a lot of time to complete the training. So what we will do as part of this session is that we would trigger the training job, and you can let the training to run. After 5 hours, you would see that a model is generated, and then you can use it. If you think that you are not able, you don't want to use this data and you want to trigger your own training, what you can do is you can delete the training job. Why this is important is that because in trial account we allow only one training at the moment, because trial is free of cost and we do not charge anything. We allow only one training. So if your model gets successfully generated, you would not be able to trigger any further training with your trial account. You would have to go to production account. So if you think that this data is good for you, you can keep the training running. Otherwise, please delete the training. So I would just quickly show how you trigger the training. So you just have to keep the dataset ID handy. If you have not kept it handy, you can get it by get/datasets API. So I get the dataset ID here. And now I would trigger the training. I just have to give the model name. So I would give the model name as resume BR or anything of your choice. And there are certain restrictions on the model name that you can find in the document. It should not have SAP underscore as prefix, because that are registered for pre-trained models. It should start with an alphanumeric character, and it can include only hyphen or underscore as the special characters. So I will trigger this. Since I already did one successful training with my trial account, I would not be allowed to trigger another training. But if you have not triggered, this is your first time, you would get something like this. You would get a response of something like this with a job ID. Again, requesting everyone to please keep this job ID handy. This is very important because this would be used to get the status of the job. So please keep this handy. You will see that the status is pending, and a message that training job has been submitted successfully. After some time, if you get the status using the get API here. So if you try it out and if you paste the job ID here, this is not my job ID, but then you would get something like you would get the status. So after some time, the status would change to running, and then it would take 5 hours to get the model. Once the model is generated, you would get the response of something like this, which would have the capabilities, what are the labels that it is able to extract, the languages that it supports, and then the accuracy of the model. So as I mentioned, you can either keep the training running if you are satisfied and you want to use this. Otherwise, you can just delete it right now. And if you want, you can try it again later. So I will just wait for 2 more minutes and then we can move to the next section. So once you have the training triggered, once it gets completed, what you would, if you see in the document, the section 4 is about model. So I would just quickly explain about what this is. So as I mentioned, we have two pre-trained models, SAP Invoice Header and SAP Email Business Entity. So all of you would see this already in your model's response, and these can be used directly for inference. Once your training is successful, you would also see something called custom models, which is your own models, and you would see the name of the model. So this would be visible only once your training is completed. So since in my account, I have already completed one training, I can see this as my custom model. But right now you all will see only these two models in your response. So you can also go ahead with section 4 and you can try out these models API, and you can see what all models we right now have as part of the BR service. And then we can move to the most important section, which is the inference. So again, I would wait for 3 to 4 minutes here, and then we can move to inference. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, then maybe I would just ask for 2 minutes of your time from the hands-on exercise before proceeding to inference. So one step that you would not find in the document, which is related to the deployments, because as I mentioned, the complete training of the model is out of scope for this session. But once your model is trained, as I mentioned, you would see it here under the custom model section. Now to use it for inference, you would have to follow one more step, which is the deployment. So what you would have to do is you would have to click on post deployment, and you would have to give the name of the model, which is test underscore model, which is my model, and the model version, and click on execute. Now, okay, for me, it is already deployed, but once, if it is not deployed, you will get the response something like this with the job ID and the deployment status as started. Now you can use this ID to get the deployment status. Normally, it just happens immediately, and you would not have to wait for the deployment to get completed. but you can just use this get API and you can again fetch the deployment status. Once you see the deployment status as running, this means that this model test underscore model one can be used for inference. So this is just a step which you would have to do once your model is trained and is ready for inference. With that, we can move to the last section of the hands-on exercise, which is the inference. So inference is the primary step of our application, because here you would get the results of the extracted entities from your text. So what you can do is you can go ahead to section 5 and you can perform the inference. So what we have is that we have some pre-trained models. So you can go ahead and try the inference with these pre-trained models. So you can just try it with the sample text which is given here, or in the Word document you would find some you would find a total of 4 texts, 2 for each of the models, and you can try it out, and you can try it out with your own custom text as well. So if I click on execute here, I can see that the job status is pending. So I will copy the job ID and I will get the results here in the second API. So if you see here, I am getting vendor ID because there was no vendor ID in the text, and then invoice reference number as this with a confidence value of 0.86. So this is how the inference works. So you can post it first and then use the job ID to get the status of the inference. Now, since this is a trial account, with every request, you would see the limits that have been exhausted. So every month you get a maximum of 30 inference requests, and a total of 120,000 characters can be processed every month. So this resets after every month. So after every inference request, you would see the limit of the utilized inference requests and character count. So you can go ahead and follow the samples that are given in the Word document with email, business entity, and invoice header. And as a for the custom model, I can also show this. For example, I just copied the sample, and since I already have the model trained, I can copy the text here. The name of my model is test underscore model. I get the job ID. And if you see, I get the email ID as this. So again, this is because for this test underscore model, I used only email as the capability. I did not use the full data set. But if you use the data set that I have given to you, you would get all these entities, including first name, last name, country. So this, since this was a subset of the data, I'm just getting the email ID. So this is the value and this is the confidence. So this is how inference works. So you can take around 5 to 10 minutes to try this out, and then I can also parallelly open it up for questions, and you can continue doing the hands-on exercises. And if there are any doubts, please feel free to ask me. You can unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have. I hope everyone was able to follow the exercises, and because I'm just not getting enough feedback, so I continued at my own pace. So as I mentioned, this material would be available to you. You can download it via chat or via the GitHub link. I can paste the GitHub link again. And if you want to continue exploring it later, you can also reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions. Okay, I don't hear any questions. Hope everyone was able to perform inference at least once or twice. And now, if there are any questions related to this application or any use cases or any of the APIs, please let me know. Or any feedback that you want to share, please unmute yourself and you can speak up.
Hi Komal, just I mean like I just got it right now. So when I was looking at the API key creation, so I was trying to authorize bearer, but it mentioned this one. What I'll just mention. It mentioned access token created. So after the bearer access token, so I'm unable to find the access token in the key. So which one?
Yeah, so you would not find it in the key. So the key is something like this, right? What I'm showing it in on the screen,
Yeah.
right? So what you have to do is you have to copy this URL.
Okay.
So you have to follow basically this tutorial, get OAuth access token, right? So you have to copy this URL, paste it in your browser and append /OAuth/token $grant type equals to client credentials. Then it would ask for username and password. In username and password, you have to give the client ID and client secret. Once you give that, you would get a response of something like that, this, and then you have to copy this access_token.
Okay.
Right. So now, once this is copied, how do you authorize is you go to the URL, which is this. This is your application URL, and you have to append /API/v1. Now, if you click here to authorize, I'll just show you. So you have to add the bearer and then the token that you copied, and click on authorize.
Okay.
So basically, you have to follow this tutorial first to get the access token. And then you in this Word document, if you see section
1.3.
1.4, you can see how to authorize it.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, if you have any follow-up questions, I am available. You can send me a mail or you can ping me on Teams.
Okay. Thanks, Kumar.
Okay, any other questions from anyone? Okay. Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, maybe we can then close this session. You can always reach out to me via email or Teams. And as again, just to repeat, all the material is available in the GitHub link that I have pasted, and also I uploaded the files there. So if there are any follow-up questions or any queries, please let me know, and then we can also work together to realize the integration scenario with success factors and to bring this kind of an automation using the AI business services. Okay. Okay, then thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, I'll just type my email here. And you would also find the presentation here in the GitHub link. So you would also get all the details and my contact details, but I have also typed my email in the chat. So thank you everyone for your time and for joining the session. Hope it was helpful for all of you. And yeah, Let me know if there are any follow-up questions. Thank you, everyone. Moderator, you can end the meeting now.